Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we'll be planting this jade pot that I had in the last video, which I you know separated from another bonsai tray it was placed in. It had a little bit of root growth in that bonsai tray, not very much as compared to the other plant that I had. And this was actually quite, the root level was quite deep for this one. It was not a very ideal ideal soil level. So as I said, discussed before, I'll be planting this one in a hanging basket. And this is an old basket which I had at hand, and it had that cocoa coir liner earlier, which decomposed, with time, and so I had to buy another one, which I bought today. As you can see on the table, let me show you. I think I bought it for around 100 rupees for this 10-inch piece. This is a 10-inch basket, so it was fairly easily available in the market. You can also buy it easily, or you can order it from Amazon if it's not available locally. So here I'm just trying to see how much how easily it fits. So it snaps right on, very easy to put it on. But it had a little bit of gap at the base, so I'm just trying to push it inside properly so that it sits in properly. And I wanted to see how flexible it was from the edges as well. We have to clip in the chain again, so I don't want something which is very hard, so that'll create an issue when we're putting the chains back on. So when you press it a little bit, it'll go inside, but then the lip of the liner won't sit very nicely on the edging of the basket. So I think it'll expand with time once it's watered regularly, so don't fret about it, guys. I also took it out after a little bit of fidgeting with it. Here I am just trying to place the plant in the basket and see how it looks. I was happy with the growth habit of this plant. This is the variety of jade which grows downwards. This is a very common variety which is very readily available. So let's make a mix of soil to use in the basket, because I was not sure that I had enough soil in the pot, as the soil level was very low in that one. So let's do that. Here I had a pot with half soil, so I decided to use this much only, because I thought we don't need that much of soil. Here I'm trying to get it out in the tray. I thought this was a smaller tray, so I'm getting a bigger one. These trays are usually used to hold the extra draining water under the pot. But in rainy weathers, I don't use very many trays, because it can help, in growth of mosquito larvae. So I remove them during rainy seasons. So it comes in handy when I'm mixing my soil. So here I'm putting it out. This planter had a big piece of broken clay pot at the base, but I won't be using it. We are planting it in a basket, so we don't need that piece. I'll be adding a little handfuls of vermicompost in it, just to boost the soil, and replenish its nutrients. And a few scoops of perlite and cocoa peat mix, just to get it more airy and help, not retain water as much, which will help in root growth of the plant. Mix it around. And we have a potting soil ready. I don't have a fixed ratio, I just put in a few handfuls and I just go by the flow. There were a few chunks of orchid bark in this as well. I decided to keep them and not remove them. Let's get this plant out of this pot. It didn't have as much root growth out of it from the drainage as the other one had, but it still had some. It was not coming off easily. There was this one, the other parts were of the root were small, but this one chunk was actually quite big, which was making the plant. This one was a little bigger root one, so it was not letting go of the pot. So I decided to trim it a little bit. Here I'm trying to pull the plant out and see if it comes easily. I guess not. And I'm pulling it out, so let's press it from the sides, maybe that helps. I didn't want to break this pot because this was a good pot in a good condition. I could use it to plant some other plant. See, all the roots are out, but this one chunk was not getting out, so I decided to push it with some pruners, and that did the trick. The plant was out of the pot, and now I see why it did not grow as much as the other jade plant. That one was planted in coco peat, and this one was in red soil. And red soil in our weather, it becomes very clayey, so because we have a humid atmosphere over here in our region, so I don't like to plant my plants in red soil. So here I'm just removing the red soil out of the roots. Even though it was not watered that day, but still the soil was not coming off easily. But I'm still trying to be as gentle as possible and not to damage the roots. You can see the root structure much more clearly. This is not a bad roots, these are not bad size for this plant, but if it would have been in the potting, the soil mix that we have prepared, it would have grown much more than this one, because this is a very fast growing plant. Maybe the soil was not good enough for this plant to grow. I didn't want to remove it. It was a bunch of cuttings, planted together, so I didn't want to remove the cuttings, and I just wanted to keep the bunch of them together as is, and I wanted to plant them just like so. So I'm just trying to shake the soil out of it. The soil is almost out. There were just a few pieces left, but I decided not to push it anymore because the cuttings were falling apart now. So let's keep it aside and get rid of the red soil first. I think it will expand when it's watered regularly, so I'm just bringing it back up to the lip of the hanging basket. So whenever I'm, planting baskets, I keep a pot under the basket so that it doesn't move around as much. Let's put a small layer of soil at the base. Push it around to the sides as well. and just trying to place it in the middle. And once I'm happy with it, I'll just put more soil at the sides. Make sure that you're covering the roots from all the sides properly, and do tap the pot if you can, or just press the soil with your fingers. If you don't do that, and you just straight away water it, the soil will settle down, and there will be a huge area you'll have to refill with soil again. So just try and compress with the soil a little bit with your fingers, and it will get rid of air pockets as well. If you don't press it and there are air pockets, it could harm the growth of the plants. So just try to cover it properly from all the sides. Make sure that the roots are properly covered. And just move it around if you have to, or shake it properly. The soil will settle down on its own. You don't even have to put much effort to it. Here I'm pressing it with my fingers because I wanted to, secure the plant in its place. Otherwise, if you don't secure it properly, once you water it, it will fall over to a side. It could, the roots could dislodge themselves, and it could uproot itself. It could fall down. You'll have to do the whole, then you'll have to start all over again. So it's better to do it properly the first time, and cover it nicely from all the sides, secure it properly. I think we prepared correct amount of soil for this one. It was just enough for this pot. I'll be hanging this basket under a green net area because I don't have any other place to hang it. The only place that I have to hang my basket is covered with green net right now. It won't affect much, so rather it will help in protecting the plants in this rain. And when the sun is out after rains, it's a very harsh sun in our area, so it will actually be good for the plant. Here I'm decided to chop a few of the cuttings off because I was not liking the way it was growing, and I thought that maybe I'll plant these cuttings again in this pot. It will be a much fuller plant in that way, and it will look much more, all the empty spaces that it had, it will fill it out properly if I plant a little bit more cuttings. And the cuttings are really easy to grow. I don't think I've shared a video the last time I got the cuttings planted, which was the last video. So let me show you how I plant my cuttings. It's a very simple process. Let's get this cutting sorted first. And there were some very leggy cuttings. I did not want to use those, like this one. I won't be using this cutting which I've kept at the side. I'll be using the cuttings which I'm putting in the tray. So I just simply pull the leaves away from the cutting, and I have a good like 2 to 3 inches of stem. And in this case I'm just pushing the stem inside because the soil right now is really soft and the cuttings were going in fairly easily. See, I'll show you. I'm just pressing the cutting very lightly and it is just going in like that, and just press it from the sides so that it doesn't move around much. Again the same thing, pull the leaves out from the cutting. It was a bigger cutting, so I decided to chop it off a little bit more, and let's do that again. This cutting was actually very thin, so let's see. It was not going as easily, so I decided to poke a hole with my finger. And you can plot a cutting like this also. Just poke a hole with your finger, put the cutting in, but then make sure that you're pressing the soil back properly to the cutting so that it doesn't move around much. If it moves, it won't develop roots very easily. It'll take much more longer of a time. It has to be in contact with the soil properly. Let's do it once again. Just decide where you have to plant your cutting. Poke a hole with your finger, put the cutting in the hole, and then press the soil from the sides so that the cutting is secure. And just like that, we are done with planting the cuttings of jade plant. You don't need to do anything else for this one. Just water it regularly and you're done. Your cuttings will develop roots in a couple of weeks, and then the plants will start to grow, and you'll have a much fuller of a pot than you initially started with. So let's put the clips back on for the chain, and make sure that you're you know putting them in the correct places so that it's leveled and it's not leaning towards one side or the other. Make sure that you're placing the clips properly and they're secured with the basket. Even though this was an old basket, but this chain was looking fine, so I decided to use this chain again. You can get another chain if your chain is broken or is rusting or it's not secure enough. And here we are done with the plant, and in a couple of weeks we'll have a much more fuller plant of jade from this basket. It'll lean over properly. And that is it, guys. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you like it. If you do, please do like my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and bye bye.